So do you remember 1987 well? Do you remember Predator? It
Big
was all the
time.
rage. You do.
Yeah, hugely.
Do you remember what the first time you've seen Predator? Was it in 1987?
It was on video because I remember when I started seeing R-rated movies, it was like Die Hard and stuff like that, and that was '88. But it was on video. I got the Nintendo game. I was so into this movie. And Arnold Mania back then, I'm sure we're going to talk about it. It was bigger than anything you could ever imagine.
Oh shit.
Do you think Predator is what catapulted him into superstardom? Or do you think there was something that predated that?
Well, I mean, he had already done the Terminator, and I mean, the Conan movies were popular, but not super popular.
I don't remember Running Man being that popular. I think it became more of a thing. Yeah.
I think he still had a few like cheapies that he was like contracted to do right before, and like from this point on, he was like a superstar. You're not going to see him in an extended cameo in Red Sonja after this.
Yeah. But it's funny that Twins was big, and that was '88, so he was already a superstar.
Oh yeah,
Like Twins was like parodied.
Yeah, by the time Twins came along, his image was already being parodied, like you said.
And then forget it, like '90 when Total Recall came out.
Oh my God, yeah.
For people that weren't alive then, though, it's hard to believe just how huge he was.
And such a weird star because it's like he simultaneously is parody and also transcends parody and is the joke, but is also in on the joke. And I just feel like if there are parallel universes, like almost every other one, this guy never became a superstar. And if someone from a different universe came into ours, they'd be like, wait a second, why is the biggest box office star like an Austrian bodybuilder? Like, how did this happen? On our Earth, it went totally different.
What the fuck did I do wrong?
Do you think his success also helped the likes of like a Van Damme and a Seagal?
Oh yeah, of course. They were totally just lesser. They were like the lesser brand in the market. And because the market got so big, it could sustain lesser brands.
Do you think it also helped Stallone? I know he was big before Arnold, but...
Oh, completely. The Arnold wave took Stallone to the next level with him. And they became like the A-level tier, A tier of muscle men.
Wasn't Stallone kind of jealous of Arnold? Or hated him?
We used to get into the biggest fights.
Oh, you and Stallone or you and Arnold?
Me, Arnold, and Stallone. The Roid Boys, we called ourselves.
Who had the biggest biceps?
Oh, don't even. I'm not going to get into that right now.
You son of a bitch.
So, Rusty, welcome to the podcast, which until now has been called Archers of Horror. But I can't announce this. It's too scary.
Why? Because you want a drum roll intro? You want me to get that drum roll effect?
No, I'm just like, it's such a big life change.
Am I nervous? Yes. Am I a little bit scared? Yes. But am I running around like a chicken with its head cut off?
For almost 2 years, our identity has been something that's difficult to roll off the tongue.
Archers of Horror. We have struggled with this name. And I know some listeners out there like it, but if you told as many people as we have about this podcast, which I know you haven't, you'd realize what an annoying name this is. And plus you might have seen some of our new sub shows appearing, and we just want to do stuff besides horror. So the name from now on is Viewmasters.
What the hell are you?
It'll be appearing like that in your feed at some point soon. And we know we're going to lose some people, so we hope we get the message out.
Well, I'm excited because, we're going to have some new shows, new people.
Yeah, new shows, new people. It's the whole universe is getting deepened.
It's a brand, man. The Viewmasters brand.
Yes. And it's like the Avengers. I'm like Captain America, Iron Man, Spider-Man, Hulk. Rusty is like Hawkeye's neighbor.
Wow.
My men are not expendable. And I don't do this kind of work.
Anyways, moving forward, please rate and review.
Yes.
We're still asking.
Yeah. You don't know the lengths I've had to go through to get ratings and reviews. I've had to parachute into the jungle and fight my way to a guerrilla camp. And then instead of blowing them up with like M16s with shotguns on them. I've just been shoving my phone at them and been like, please, it'll just take 1 second. I could do it. Just give me your phone.
I thought you were going to say that you were developing the Predator's technology of having that chameleon camouflage and going into the jungle and taking people's phones while they're sleeping.
It'll be Predator 2 though, because I'm in LA. I'll be coming into people's apartments for the least creepy reason I could do it. Not the least creepy, but pretty not creepy. And that will be to rate and review my own podcast.
Nothing wrong with that.
There's probably tons of predators around LA doing this too. I'd realized a whole scene. Oh man, you already broke into this house? Yeah.
She says the jungle. It just came alive and took him.
Bullshit! It's not what she said. What she said doesn't make any sense.
Wait, so I was asking you, back to Predator. You said you did see this on VHS in 1987?
Yeah, hot off the presses. From the new release section right into my TV room.
I have to say, this movie, I also seen this in 1987 at a friend's house on VHS. I loved it, but it also terrified me at the same time.
Really? Wow.
Because it eventually became like an HBO movie where they played it around the clock.
Mm-hmm.
And I always had to close my eyes when Mac got killed by the Predator. That just, like, I don't know, something so real. It felt so real to me.
I couldn't find a movie scary with Arnold in it because I'd be like, I'm in good hands. Arnold's getting us through this.
Because some damn fool accused you of being the best.
Before we jump into the episode, I need to know about this date that you had.
Yes. We are recording this on a Wednesday. Well, I shouldn't be too specific in case the person never heard this podcast. But it's just a couple of days after a date. I haven't told Rusty about it, except to say that it was a disaster.
Before you went on that date, though, you did text me pre-date, and you were on cloud 9. You were riding high going to this date.
You are a very handsome man, like Sean Connery.
What?
That is the thing that really is the most tragic about this story. Is when my friend texted me that she wanted to hang out and gave me her number, I felt like that energized feeling that you felt like in 6th grade when you asked a girl out. I was like, holy shit, like, I can't believe it. Like, I'm on top of the world. I felt like I was going to ride this momentum straight to glory. And now I've been destroyed.
I'm here! Kill me! Come on! Kill me! I'm here! Come on! Do it now! Kill me!
I can't wait to hear it happen. So let's get a peek behind that curtain.
Oh, okay. But I guess the other stuff to set it up would be that we texted a bit, and she seemed like a very easy audience. Not that that's the first thing I should say, but like she was, like, oh, you're so funny, but I wasn't even saying anything funny. I was like, oh, it's a really easy audience. But we didn't text that much. Like sometimes like I'll meet someone on a dating app and we'll have like the text rapport of the century. And then, you meet and sometimes it's cool and sometimes it's not. But me and her didn't text that much leading up to this because also she's a doctor. So she's pretty busy.
Hold it. No, don't anybody move. But before this night is over, somebody in this room will pull his wang.
So I didn't do much planning, but when I checked on the restaurant that we were going to go to, there was like one remaining reservation at like the time we decided. So I was like, oh, hell yeah. And I have to confess that when I was making this reservation, I was a bit stoned.
Let's get high.
And I wrote in the notes, it was like anything like on the open table notes, like anything special we should know about your reservation. I was like, give me the most romantic table because this is going to be a good date and it's got to go well. And so another thing that you have to know is that my pants that I wear every day, I completely ripped open the crotch to them. But the thing is, I already bought a new pair of them, but in a smaller size. And so I was waiting to change into those. And now the night of the date is the first time I put these jeans on.
Oh.
You could fucking imagine. Who would ever do that? I'm wearing them now. They totally fit now. But I was so tight. I was so tight walking to that date. I looked like the Predator. I was walking like the Predator.
You one ugly motherfucker.
So I have to ask you, how do you dress on this romantic date that has to go extremely well? You're wearing jeans, but what else? What do you top that off with? What pizzazz?
Well, I did wear my dress hoodie.
how how casual was this restaurant?
I mean, it's all casual
Nice.
in LA, even if it's really fancy.
Mm.
But it was, there was some style to it. That the style was not my problem at all. My problem was my personality.
What's the matter, Judy? Don't you like your blind date?
I met her outside the restaurant. The thing is, I felt so not nervous. Like I felt like I could go to sleep.
Mhm.
Like I felt so calm. That's kind of one of the weird things. And we go in and we sit down, and I don't know how to describe it except that like I was never not aware of myself. Like
Oh, that's the worst.
every single word I was like picking up my water, I was like thinking about it. The only time when I wasn't aware of myself was when I would like come out of like telling the most boring story on earth to her. I tell good stories, like I tell bad stories, but I tell good stories. There's been some on this podcast, and I was telling things that weren't even stories.
Place is too hot for pickup. They won't touch us till we get over the border. Hey, Billy, give me a way out of this hole.
At one point I actually wanted to say, hey, can I reset? Because I'm actually like interesting and I could be like, have a good conversation. Like something's wrong with me. Like, did you ever see the movie Angels in the Outfield? You know the part when like the old pitcher is like, I got nothing left. And Danny Glover is like, you got an angel with you. And I don't have anything with me and I have nothing left.
I feel like during the text messaging, she thought she was getting Legend of Zelda, but when you showed up, it was Deadly Towers.
Oh yeah, that's a great comparison. Also, because like that character's kind of bloated, like I was in these jeans. I was just so boring. Like she was very personable and like really she should get an award for being so normal with such a freaky guy. But I was at one point, I don't even know how to describe this, but at one point when I was eating, something got on my cheek.
Oh.
Totally normal. I wipe it off. But the weird thing was that something in my mind was like malfunctioning where I was just like, okay, wipe it off again. And then I wiped off again and I was like, I don't think I got it. I was like, but change the way you're wiping. So then I'm like using my palm. And then I'm like, get it, try one more time. And then I was just thinking, am I sabotaging myself on purpose? Because now I'm just doing stuff to be a freak.
Yeah.
And like,
you have like twitches.
I can't believe she's just sitting through all of this. But it was just completely no chemistry, I guess is what I would say.
You got no style, that you know that. Come on. Why'd you pass?
I felt like she is just a normal person, like a cool person. And I was one of the creatures from the film The Descent.
How did the date end though? Did you shake hands?
This is the best part. We walked to her car in the parking garage. It was kind of a weird, like just I'm not going to explain the layout of the parking garage, but it was designed to make things as awkward as possible. So I end up walking with her to her car and she's like, all right, bye. And we had like just like a hug, but I was like, there's no, she could have imagined, I guess, some dumb guy who maybe would have tried to kiss her and like would have texted her and asked about a second date. But I felt like we know that nothing's happening here. We've just been going through like the motions for the rest of the experience just to get it over with, which I was totally fine with. But the funny thing is, so we hug and then she said something to me, not like have a nice life, but it was definitely like, that's what was the message.
Mac, cut him down.
I was just shocked by the directness of it. And I had been in the middle of saying thank you / goodbye. I wasn't sure which one I was saying. And then when she said that, all I did was I made a sound. I just went,
how quickly did you
and then I just turned and walked off. So my final thing I said to her was,
You know what the worst thing is though on a bad date? There's also that paranoia kicks in and is like, oh, she's probably just telling all her friends about this creep, this crazy guy.
I'm sure I will be a legend in her stories. I'm totally comfortable with that.
There's nothing worse than going on a date and losing your confidence.
Yeah, no, that was the painful thing. Like I'll never forget. Well, I'll never forget coming home and just it wasn't like I thought like I was going to marry her or something, But I just felt like such a non-human that I was like not even hungry, and I got 3 slices of pizza, and I just watched Game of Thrones with more concentration than I've ever watched Game of Thrones. I was like in the world.
Were you hiding under a sheet?
I was just reeling. Like I felt like I had been like I was Glass Joe going down.
1 in 99.
So what are you gonna try next, Cheese?
I don't know if I have to ask you this, but how do you feel about this movie? Did you like it? Did you like it growing
Love
up? Love it.
Yeah.
I
Loved
really
it growing up. Like it a lot now.
I really feel like this is one of those movies that is exciting from start to finish. There's never
yeah.
a dull moment. I feel like the characters are super interesting. They all have depth, even though you don't know that much about them.
Yeah.
I feel like the Predators are super interesting, and you don't know much about it.
Yeah. If something about this movie feels like not like a movie that was made, but that always had to exist and then just emerged when it did.
Yeah,
And the way that Alan Silvestri score like carries the entire movie,
it really does.
like it starts from the beginning, just with such like it gives the movie such like a propulsive feel, and every single scene just keeps leading into the next scene in such an interesting, good way.
And the score really builds a tension because like you feel like those
Oh,
moments where there's the quiet before the storm, where you know the Predator's out there, and you know one of the guys is going to die, and you still feel that even after seeing it like dozens of times. It still amps you up.
Yeah, it's a great movie. I mean, I feel like John McTiernan doesn't get enough credit for this and Die Hard back to back. It's pretty insane.
Yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker.
The cast of characters for this film, growing up, I love them all.
I am glad to hear it.
How did you feel? Was there anyone you particularly liked?
I like you. I like them all.
You know, they all had code names. Did you know that Dutch, played by Arnold Schwarzenegger, character's name was Alan Schaefer? He did not seem like an Alan Schaefer to me.
Yeah.
Since they all had operative names, what would your name have been if you were one of those commandos?
Well, I can tell you right now because I had a club called the Marauders where we wore masks and stuff, and my name was Nemesis.
Did you give yourself that name, or how did that come
Oh,
about?
no. The neighborhood toughs gave me that name after I bested them in plastic ninja weapon combat.
Nemesis. That's not even a cool name.
And then when I was in the Monster Squad club, which was like a younger version of Nemesis that of Marauders that you were in,
Yeah.
my name, they knew me as Iron Arm because I wore soccer shin guards on my arm.
When I created a gang called the Scorpions, which
it.
I tried to design T-shirts, but I just got white T-shirts and tried to use a permanent marker, so it just the ink would bleed and the graphic would be all muddy. But my name was Stinger.
Okay, that's good.
That worked.
I mean, what were the rest of the people? You took the best item of a scorpion. What were the rest of scorpions going to be called? It was like, I'm legs.
Pincher.
Yeah, I guess Pincher and like Claw could be cool.
Did you ever have nicknames growing up? Like, I know you had your football name. And I know for the people out there, your nickname was Ed the Destroyer.
Yes.
We all know you didn't destroy anyone on that football field.
Well, one thing I would like to say is that the name Darty, one of its meanings is destroyer.
Really?
So I was born to be Ed the Destroyer Darty.
Wait, did the cheerleader know that, or did she do her homework?
No. It was a very popular girl who also was like dating like the captain of the football team. And I was like her second person that she had to make the stuff for. And it could not have been like the Destroyer was probably coined within 3 seconds.
It was just like she looked up words to describe like fierceness and stuff. She's like,
well, no, she just looked at Darty D. What else was the D? Can't call him dipshit. Oh, Destroyer.
That's my name. Don't wear it out.
You know what I wanted to ask you though about the Predator?
Yes.
Is I love this alien, this being. I think it's very cool that there's limited details regarding it.
Yes.
Which I think that was a great part with the directing and writing. Imagine they had like a backstory, like they do with like all the movies that come out now, like all the remakes.
Well, they eventually did establish a backstory.
Yeah, but
Well, because you're never into anything new, so you can't appreciate
Yeah, but
masterpieces like The Predator and Predators.
I don't consider that canon. I think that's like garbage.
Those are incredible films.
I was not even a fan of Predator 2, and I saw that in theaters.
Yeah, I was also not a fan of that. I've never been a fan of anything except for this one movie.
Yeah.
And I tried rewatching Predator 2 recently because there's a big movement out there to try to make that a beloved film. And I was like, I just can't get into this.
Losing is cool. There's nothing but a couple of guys running around out there, and we gotta take them down.
Imagine they had a backstory. Like they show the Predator on its homeworld, like with its family, and there's like time to go hunting. And it just like takes off,
yeah.
like puts on the hunting cap, gets its weaponry. Oh, I have to bring this detonator just in case things go wrong.
It's like the Jango Fett of Predators.
What do you think of the Predator's hair, which wasn't really hair, but at the time we thought it was dreadlocks?
I've always liked the Predator with the mask on more.
Oh yeah, me too. Me too.
Especially as a kid, I loved the mask on, and I didn't really like him with the mask off.
Mhm.
And even though the hair is obviously visible when the mask's on, it has a different effect when it's on.
Yeah.
It kind of looks like wires or something
Mhm.
in a cool way.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've always, I don't know, had a problem with his hair, but maybe that's problematic to say. I don't know.
You know what I wonder though, like how it's obvious that the Predator is an advanced species. It's more advanced than humans. Yet it doesn't have language. The only thing we really see is mimicry. So you think that one thing that made what?
Wait, there's so many times where it's like plugging stuff into, it's like where you see alien letters and shit.
Right. Oh, so you're saying that it does have language? It just there's
Yeah,
no need to
definitely has
communicate.
language. No, I think it communicates via like clicks and stuff like that.
Yeah, but that's not advanced. Animals do that.
No, but I mean via like super advanced clicks. Like the language
Yeah,
just
but,
is not. I mean, I bet it has a complex language.
But people say dolphins are advanced, but I mean they have clicks.
What do dolphins even have to do with this?
Because they use clicks in echolocation. I'm just saying that one of the things that made humans stand out and outlast all the other hominids and stuff was that we had language. We built a language.
But the Predator has a language so clearly in this film.
Well, maybe I need a backstory of that language. I need a film of him just speaking.
You need to
All right.
start learning the Predator. Start writing to Duolingo and be like, you need to offer the Predator language on your site. It is dying out. Some people don't even think he has a language.
So you're saying he has language?
Yeah, he
I guess
has a language.
It stands to reason. It stands to reason that maybe it's because who would he communicate with? There's nobody there.
I mean, how would they fly spaceships too if they have no language? They're just like,
That's what I'm saying. It's so advanced.
they're like, how do I describe this to the guy? How do I explain it to the engineer?
What do you think? Maybe when it was dressing its wounds, instead of just screaming out in agony, maybe you say an F-bomb in its language.
Maybe. Well, this is a good time to say that I never knew until this rewatching of the film that Peter Cullen of Optimus Prime fame does the voice and the sounds of the Predator.
Yes, I did. I read that as well. You know what I really feel bad about though? The actor that played the Predator, Kevin Peter Hall,
Mm-hmm.
who was also Harry from Harry and the Hendersons.
Respect.
He was also in a Highway to Hell movie that I loved as a kid.
Oh, I remember the box
Yeah, the
art
cover.
of those.
Yeah, I love Christy Swanson, so anything she was in, I
Ooh,
was a
yeah, I
fan of.
loved her too.
But Kevin Peter Hall died pretty tragically.
What happened?
He was in a car accident. This was like in 1991. In a car accident, had a blood transfusion, and contracted the HIV virus and died.
Oh, wow.
And from some of the special features I watched, he seemed like a really cool guy, which made me feel bad.
Mm.
And for those that don't know, he does get a cameo in the movie. He is the helicopter pilot at the end.
Was he in any other movies?
I
I know he was like 7'2" or something, right?
Oh, he's
he was
huge,
like-
yeah. It's funny seeing like the pictures, the behind the scenes photos of him standing around with the cast and crew,
Mm.
and he just towers them. It's how you design your NBA players in NBA 2K Live.
Yeah. When someone that big comes into like a operating room, I bet the doctors for like 1 second are like, man, that's a big dude.
Yeah, for
That's a
sure.
question I could have asked my doctor wife if things had worked out.
Don't count on it. Butthead.
Yeah, you have to wonder that. Like, you can't just strap them to a table. They probably have to put two together. Actually, that's what they said, that for all the hotel accommodations, they had to take two king-size beds and put them together for him to sleep comfortably.
And Jean-Claude Van Damme famously played the Predator for like a week.
Hmm.
Um,
For literally a
And-
week, yeah.
and the famous thing about this is that the suit looks like a lobster because it was all red because there's not very much red in the jungle. So they were going to use that to like
Do the
replace.
camouflage, yeah.
And but Van Damme allegedly thought that that was really what the Predator was going to look like. And he's like, it's stupid.
Well, he couldn't process that. He didn't get that there was going to be another costume because the costume wasn't there yet.
Yeah.
But the other thing about him, Jesse Ventura told a story, was that he was pissed because he thought this was his first film, and he had such a bad attitude on set, and he was pissed that because he thought he was going to showcase his karate.
Mhm.
So I mean, he's running around the jungle, and there's not any part of the jungle that's flat. So he was constantly sliding and stuff. So he couldn't do his karate, and he didn't understand that. And he thought he was going to have this big moment where he gets to like beat up Arnold using his karate. Due to his horrible attitude, he was fired.
A true martial artist would have invented his own style that used the rainforest to his advantage.
Yeah. I think Joe Silver, I don't know if it was the producer, but somebody said, like, this guy, his bad attitude, he'll never work in Hollywood again. And look at him, he became huge.
Yeah. But very few of those movies are really Hollywood films.
Chill out. Mr. California. Mr. Silk Underwear. Mr. Perfection. You want to see how we chill out in Hong Kong?
The other big thing, just to address all the things everybody already knows about the movie, but Stan Winston was brought in to redesign the Predator.
Yes, because it famously, they were in the jungle already filming. They opened up the box of the original costume and they were like, fuck, this is not going to be cool.
They shut down the production for months, right?
And it's funny too, because they, well, I don't know if they shut down for months because I think, didn't they like shoot basically the whole movie except for the final battle? And then they came back after a few months when that suit was ready to do the final battle?
I think so. I don't recall exactly.
But it's funny too because the studio wanted to save money and got the first suit made for like $750,000, and then it was like, and then they just had to pony up the money and pay Stan Winston, which was like $1.5 million or something. But it was like, man, should have just gone for it.
Didn't Arnold recommend him because he worked with him on
Yes,
Terminator?
he had just worked with him on Terminator.
Yeah.
And the other very famous thing about this is that Stan Winston was like sketching designs on a flight with James Cameron. And James Cameron was like, I've always wanted to do like a mandible thing. So that's where the Predator got his mandibles, which I find to be one of the lesser effective parts of the design.
I agree. I totally, even as a kid, it was like the one thing.
Oh, even as a kid, I hated I was like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Whenever that real Predator face came out, when Arnold said, "You're one ugly son of a bitch,"
What the fuck?
one ugly motherfucker.
Wait, why
I
did you
was
go son of
like-
a bitch?
I can't remember what the line
Really?
was.
That's like the famous line everybody copies.
You're one ugly motherfucker. I agreed with him. I was like, yeah, dude. He's got my muscles and he's got my thoughts.
Before jumping into the plot of this movie, there was a story told about it was titled in the special features "Don't Drink the Water," and it's kind of a funny story.
Go on. Like it so far.
The hotel that all the cast and crew were staying at, the water filtration system in the hotel room broke,
Mm-hmm.
so they were all drinking the water, and a few days after that, they got a notice saying, "Don't drink the water; it's contaminated." And I think Shane Black was telling a story where like he would look at the water and there's like insects or like parasites floating in it, but he would drink it anyway. But he was one of the few that didn't get horribly sick. So throughout when they were shooting some of the more dramatic scenes, like when Billy and Dutch are like looking into like staring off into the jungle,
Mm-hmm.
and after they shot that and they would yell cut, they would just like take off and have like explosive diarrhea. So it's kind of funny like watching that scene and seeing them being like stoic and just knowing that they had to shit themselves, like had to shit so bad.
I'm sure it gives like an element of dread
Yeah.
to their performance.
You see the pain in Billy's face.
What's got Billy so spooked?
Can't say, Major. Been acting squirrely all morning. That damn nose of his. It's weird.
I do like the subgenre of like humans being hunted.
Mhm.
And this is a great one because it kind of reverses it a little bit where the hunter is actually outnumbered.
Yeah, that is cool.
Like most of the other ones, it's like a group on one. Like just for
Yeah,
some
like a-
examples, like Surviving the Game with Ice-T, like he was outnumbered.
Yeah.
Or like Turkey Shoot or Naked Prey, Most Dangerous Game.
But no, that totally, yeah, usually the hunter is like Logan's Run. It's like the
Mhm.
sand people taking
Yeah.
out like the runners.
Didn't you say
so
No
yeah, that
Escape?
is-
Didn't you throw No Escape at me the other day?
I did, yeah.
That was just humans hunting humans, though. But I guess one was more
Well,
advanced.
A shitload
having-
of these examples have been humans hunting humans,
Well, Total Recall, you could actually almost say humans hunting humans.
but that's not even in this genre at all.
No, it isn't. Oh boy, it's all falling apart.
I am loving it though. I am loving it. You know, this is actually a lot like the game Fortnite.
Well, when we were the last two, always because we would just hide for a majority of the game and then be hunted.
Yeah, it's like Predator.
I would love to do that, like a real life Predator thing, where without the murder, like trying to survive.
It's like the one time me and our friends, but I don't think you were there, went to Oceanside Indoor Paintball, and we were like 16, and there was like a 9-year-old kid who was like clearly really into it because he had all the gear,
Mm.
and he was like, "Let me go up against these two, me and Dan, with
Oh,
just my
no.
pistol." So he just had like a little gun, and we had our guns, and the pathetic thing is like we ended up running out of time because like no one moved. I was just like, just hold our position.
Wait, so he made the bold statement to go against two guys using a pistol, and he didn't do anything.
I mean, I guess he was like a little afraid too to go. I
Oh.
mean, he was like a 9-year-old kid though,
So he
and oh, what a humiliating experience.
so he talked the talk, but didn't walk the walk. Yeah.
Well, yeah,
Why don't you just two go on up either side, and then one of you flank them?
those kind of tactics we were too young to know them.
We make a stand now, or there would be nobody left to go to the chopper.
The one other thing before we're jumping in, I just wanted to mention the camouflage that the commandos wear.
Yeah, that's the same. I use the same thing to get lunch every day.
The camouflage that they wear, though, was
That's what I wear to get past my doorman. I actually had an online date, and we came back to my apartment, and she was like so amazed that I don't say anything to the door guy, but I evolved into that because when you have to say hello to the door guy every day,
Mhm.
it eventually just becomes horrible. Where you're just like, oh. The thing is, we'll go through door guys who seem like, to me, I'll think, well, I'm not saying anything to this guy, but he does seem like unfriendly
Mhm.
and like he doesn't talk to anybody. And then I'll see him talking to like a neighbor, and his whole face will be like lit up and so friendly and like just look like a different person. Like when I see them, they look like a goblin.
You are
That's what I bring
clearly-
out in them.
You are clearly that episode of Seinfeld when Kramer's like trying to make it a more friendly building, and Jerry doesn't want to have anything to do with it,
Oh yeah.
and all the tenants just eventually hate him. I bet you all the residents in your building hate you.
I would not be surprised.
We're just one big happy family. Except for a little incest and psychosis.
The camouflage that they wear is unique to their character. They each have their own identifiable camouflage. Like Arnold's camouflage, the lines are very strong. Billy's, since he's like the tracker and he's a Native American, he's got the war paint. Dylan's camouflage is more subdued because he's
Dylan.
forgotten his way. Yeah, he's like forgotten his way. So he's like the pencil pusher now.
What's the matter? The CIA got you pushing too many pencils? Huh?
Okay, I like it.
And then Bill Duke, he doesn't wear any. He doesn't need to wear it.
I mean, I think that's good, but I'm glad that the wardrobe department and the production designer did that because, a lot of shit was just in the jungle. So
Yeah.
it's good that they added stuff in other areas.
Mm-hmm.
Jumping into the film, Predator, 1987.
1987.
Can I just say, if thermal vision is the only, like at one point they're showing the Predator looking in thermal vision,
Mhm.
and then he like takes it off, and then you see his regular vision, which is basically looks like thermal vision as well.
Yeah.
And I it's just sad to imagine him perceiving the world that way. Like all the art he can't see, all the like. No wonder he's so pissed. They've got no language. Their vision is like Atari.
Do you think he's just shitting in the in that jungle? Is he just up in a tree taking a dump?
Oh yeah, and that's like humiliatingly. That's one of the times the cloaking has to come off. It's like why don't they invent cloaking that works while shitting? It's like I think they just want to fuck with us, honestly.
Do you think he brings his own toilet paper from his home world? He has his own bidet.
No, there's a tool. There's a tool on that wristband.
What is it? What would that tool be? I think you need to invent this.
Yeah, like a bidet or something like that. Yeah, it would take like the moisture from the air and turn it into liquid that would like clean its butt. Because probably they're like a species that doesn't have like hangups about stuff like that. So it's all part of like, it's like, oh, of course the wrist guard will have like bathroom functions. You have bathroom functions.
They're so much more advanced than us. No hangups about pooping.
How are we gonna feel after these beans?
The opening scene, though, the commandos are arriving at the base.
The real opening scene is the spaceship flying and dropping him off. I wonder, what is that spaceship? Is that like a tourist thing? It's like he's going on safari? Is it like a mission?
You take the ride there, and then they drop you off, and you do your hunting, and then you get picked up in a couple days. Do you think they're like waiting for him in space? like where is he? He's supposed to be back here.
Well, that's the funny part too, because so in the very next scene, it's like a nice juxtaposition. We see him arriving and we see them arriving. Mm-hmm. But I swear to God, there's guys who get off Arnold's chopper who are not on the mission.
Yeah.
So he must have guys on his team who are not like, yeah, exactly. They're like the bureaucracy, but they must be there during the mission being like, well, they're going to all come back. And they're like, that's been kind of a while. And then Arnold comes back and he's like, it was an alien. And they're like, do you believe him? It's like, I think.
That, if you're jumping to the ending, I have a whole thought about that.
Oh no, we can stay wherever you want.
After they rescue him and he's telling the story about how he like fought this alien, people had to think he was fucking crazy.
That was my biggest thing as a kid. I would always wonder after a movie, I was like, how are they going to explain this?
He like probably wrote a book and people are just like, this guy has PTSD.
Well, this does connect me to one of my, they're like, the guy's been on like 80 combat missions where he murdered everyone.
They probably thought he killed his team. He's like, this guy's in the jungle. He went crazy, killed everyone. We can't find the bodies. We just found some skulls.
Okay. This does bring me to like one of my only questions about this movie. And it's a pretty fundamental question. They arrive and they're investigating what happened to like a lost crew of guys.
18 hours ago, we lost a chopper carrying a cabinet minister and his aide from this charming little country.
But there's some kind of intrigue about like, why were they here? Is that ever explained why they were like, are we to think that they were studying the Predator or something?
No, because I think they were studying. I think that the team was sent in and the guerrillas took them hostage. Dylan sent in the other guy that Arnold knew, that Dutch knew, Jim Hopper, who was killed by the Predator.
Green Berets out of Fort Bragg. Now what the hell were they doing here?
Because remember they were ambushed and like Billy's just like...
There was a firefight. They were shooting in all directions.
Can't believe that Jim Hopper walked in an ambush.
I don't believe he did. I can't find a single track. Just doesn't make sense.
So I think they're sent in because they're better than the Jim Hopper crew, because they're like the elite and they're lied to. Yeah. But I think like Dylan, they sum it up with like one line and it's so vague. It's just like,
from the looks of it, our cabinet minister was CIA. Another thing, Major, we were lucky. Other guys who waxed were Russian military advisors. Something pretty big was gonna happen here.
Good work, Mac.
And we don't know what that big thing was, what the Russian group was doing. Yeah, it's a little convoluted there.
They were launching a Patreon.
What were they doing?
I don't know, because I feel like there's parts of the movie, and I wish I could remember them, before I was on a podcast about it.
Right.
But there's parts of the movie that kind of imply that I just feel like it implies that the mission was mysterious in a way that maybe they knew about the Predator or something.
I don't think so, though.
We're a rescue team, not assassins.
But the thing I don't get is, like, the Predator, I think the Predator only arrived and killed Jim Hopper because otherwise it would have attacked the Palapa that the Russians were at.
But I mean the hostage that they rescue, she mentions like legends from her childhood that seem
Right.
like the Predator's been coming for a while, though.
Only in the hottest years this happens. And this year it grows hot.
Well, is it the same Predator that always comes, or is it just
No.
one after the-
It's definitely, it's like different tourists.
It's like all the dentists that they ship out to Africa on safari. They're all dentists.
Dude, and they have that language. There's like the guide where it's like telling you all the shit. That's a book someone could write.
So that's what I'm thinking, because I did write down on my notes, I wrote who killed who, because it is a little complex there. Because the guerrillas are actually Russian, and they shoot down the helicopter, right?
It's pretty sophisticated for a bunch of half-ass mountain boys.
Major!
I guess they're getting better equipped every day.
The CIA was going in there to take out the Russians.
Okay.
So they're taken hostage.
We killed one of the hostages. We move.
Then Dillon sends in the guy from Fort Bragg, Jim Hopper, who's ambushed by the Predator and killed. But they don't have, I guess, the radio or the communication went dead with him. So that's why they send in Arnold's team, because they probably thought the Russians had him.
Look, we've been looking for this place for months. My men were in that chopper when it got hit. Hopper's orders were to go in and get my men, and he disappeared.
He didn't disappear. He was skinned alive.
And my orders were to get somebody and who could crack these bastards.
Okay, I get it now. Get it?
It only took you 32 years.
Yeah.
I think they don't need to tie up those loose ends, because everybody that's there for Arnold and the Predator, they don't care about what's really going on in these jungles.
What else do you have in here? Silk underwear.
Keep going.
More surprises.
Oh, yeah. Big surprise. Huge surprise.
You know the scene though when the commandos take on the Palapa and they just unleash old Painless.
It's time to let old Painless out the bed.
Where Blaine takes out that minigun.
Oh yeah.
That was a big moment. Everybody
was.
loved that fucking gun.
As a kid and as an adult, I've always been into like the freaky gun character.
Yeah.
The freaky weapon character is always the one I like.
MTV shirt, fucking that chewing tobacco.
Well, that part I don't like, but he was, as a kid, you're just like, man. Every time I watched it, I was like, Predator has no chance against these guys, and they're like, oh shit.
It's funny that like they say how impractical that gun is. Like even the crew and stuff is just like nobody would ever use that gun. Like that's a gun that you would attach to like a helicopter. And the amount of ammo it fires and the amount of time, like you'd be out of ammo so quickly. Then you're just sitting there holding this huge gun.
When I hear about the amount of ammo like those guns fire, I can't even comprehend it.
I know one thing, Major. I drew down a fire straight at it, capped off 200 rounds in the minigun. Full pack. Nothing on this earth could have lived. Not at that range.
When they go down, when they make their way down towards the camp and they're sliding on their stomachs,
Yeah.
they look so pro.
Oh, they do. You know, they looked real pro up until Arnold lifted that fucking truck up and let it go. Then all mayhem breaks loose.
Oh, yeah.
It seemed like whatever strategy they had, like as a kid, I thought it was awesome because it was this carnage. But now watching it, it's just like, there's no rhyme or reason to what they're doing.
Payback time.
And these guys, and they trained with the military for months leading up to filming. Like all the hand signals that they do are real things.
Oh yeah. No, I mean the way the way they like approach the base feels really real.
Yeah.
But then once the attack's underway, it's just like they're all just like walking like a Terminator through the scene, just murdering tons of people.
I love like not one of them sustained an injury except like Blaine had a little scrape or something. He had like a bullet grazed him.
You're hit. You're bleeding, man.
I ain't got time to bleed.
Oh. Okay. You got time to duck?
I mean, we have to establish them as super badass.
I mean, they're super elite, but it's also established that Dylan is very incompetent.
Yeah.
As a kid, like, I didn't quite get Dylan so much. I didn't get his character so much, but he really is just an office worker now. Just useless.
Yeah. As Arnold says, he's like, CIA got you pushing too many pencils.
What is this fucking tie business?
Oh, come on, forget about my tie, man.
And it's funny even how they give him like that MP5 that's like the Die Hard gun. And in Die Hard, it's like a cool gun. But in Predator, it's like, this guy's the wimp. Look at the gun he has.
Even when they know they're up against something more dangerous than the Russians, he's just like, it's just a couple guys running around in the jungle. Like, why do they got you scared? It's like, it's obviously not.
You saying that Blaine and Hawkins were killed by a fucking lizard? It's a bullshit psych job. There's 2 or 3 men out there at the most. Fucking lizard.
Let me tell you, I've been all over this world. I've seen all kinds of things. And there's people who just don't want to believe if something challenges their worldview, dude. Woohoo.
Some of the things as a kid went over my head. I mean, I love the movie. Like, I thought the action was thrilling, but the story for that went a little over my head. Like, I didn't quite get why they were there. Or I didn't quite get what they were doing.
Yeah. You're not really going to get the whole Iran-Contra of it all at that age. I mean, it's funny as a kid, like this part is totally just like I want to see them kill these guys. But then like, this is just like that appetizer.
I really believed as a kid I could be one of these guys. Like, I could be part of that team.
Me
like,
too.
I have stealth.
Me too. It's just funny the stuff you think as a kid. Like, I remember being like in high school or something and thinking, oh, if 5 of me played like an NBA team, I'd get crushed, but I'd get like a couple baskets in.
Yeah.
And I couldn't beat a middle school team.
I really believe when Mike Tyson was all the rage that I could go around with him. Like, I couldn't last around. Like, I would get punched, but like I would be able to take it. Like, just cover up.
I lived in fear of someone like appearing and being like, kid, I'll give you $1 billion for one round with Mike Tyson. Yeah. And I would think that I could like run around the ring and just stay away from him. Like, I'm so fast.
How about nowadays? Like, Mike Tyson in his prime, do you think he could last 20 seconds?
Maybe 20 seconds.
I would pay anything to see you lasting 20 seconds.
Not 26 seconds.
He would corner you so quickly. Your liver wouldn't know what hit with. Your liver would be shattered. And then he would work your head. You would have so many concussions in a span of 20 seconds.
Oh, Glass Joe strikes again.
They would just give you this with the salts, the smelling salts. Like, you would be bathed in that for weeks. Trying to keep you conscious.
I show up to the hospital, the same doctor I went on the date with. She's like, oh, can one of you guys handle this? Like, that guy is so fucking weird.
She'd be like, if he dies, he dies.
Yeah. Nice.
The whole time, the Predator's watching them. I wonder what the Predator was thinking, though, when they're attacking this palapa and watching from a distance. I wonder if it was like thinking, like, oh, these guys are pretty good. They're going to be a challenge.
Oh, yeah. If this is Predator's thing, he was probably either horny or he was filming it and sending it back to his planet. And he's like, this is a pretty good one.
It's like live leak.
Yeah. He's like, see how many views I can get on this.
He's got his Patreon going.
My wife doesn't like when I like watch your videos. She's like, fuck your wife, man. She doesn't live in the real world. We're always going to be predators.
Leave it. He didn't kill you because you weren't armed. No sport.
Did you know that Shane Black's character, originally they had him wearing a red beret as well? With the wire rimmed glasses, and he was kind of like, no, a guy wouldn't wear this stuff in the jungle. Like, he wouldn't even wear the wire rimmed glasses. And so he convinced them to get rid of the red beret, but Sonny Landham later told him, like, you shouldn't have gotten rid of that. You would have stood out more, and you would have been more like memorable. And he's just like, that's true. I should have kept the red beret.
He regrets it to this day, every night. And it's sad, actually. But no, it's true. If he had been like more aware of like G.I. Joe and shit like that, it's like, you guys got to make yourself have that unique thing. Yeah. Like, I would have been like, let my guy have a wolf with me.
Like Snake Eyes. You'd just be Snake Eyes?
Yeah, I guess so.
Did you know, though, that when he added to beef up his character, he added those pussy jokes, and the writers hated those. What?
I said I could imagine, and the writers hated those jokes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow, I could totally see that.
But Joe Silver, the producer,
I bet he loved them.
He loved them, and he's like, "You got to keep those in. You got to work them in." But I have to say, with those jokes, he does a good job with telling them because he's so bad with his delivery.
The other day, I was going down to my girlfriend. I said to her, "Jeez, you got a big pussy. Jeez, you got a big pussy." She said, "Why did you say that twice?" And I said, "I didn't." See, it's because of the echo.
Well, this introduces another question, though, because we see the Predator watching him laugh.
Yeah.
Now, to jump to the ending, after the Predator starts his self-destruct sequence, he laughs so much. I've never seen someone laugh like this.
Oh, yeah.
Like, a suicide bomb on their planet must be fucking hilarious because he is just losing it. Like, I was like, he's laughing for much longer than I remembered and much harder.
Can I tell you, when I first saw Predator as a 9-year-old, that those two jokes that Hawkins tell went way over my head. Did not get either of them.
I don't even think I tried to process them until this time.
I remember like some of the older kids would also would recite them, and I'd be like, I know they're funny. I know there's a reason why they're telling this they're funny, but I just don't get it.
Well, I think I may have told this story before, but there was one time when I was with John and a group of jocks, like in 4th grade this year, actually, 1987. And some other bad kids were trying to fight John. And like, he was like, "I'm not going to fight." And we walked back from the park and the kids were like not chasing, but walking after us, calling him a pussy, and all of us basically.
Yeah.
And we got there and like, they ended up outside the house, like chanting. It was like Lord of the Rings, like orcs chanting. And the mom had to go outside and be like, "Go away." But I just like, when we told the mom what had happened, like all of us group of kids, I was like, "They called us pussies." And every other kid looked at me like, "Why did you say that?" And I really thought it was just cats.
Wait, how old did you say you were?
It's 4th grade, 1987, the year of this film.
Oh, come on, man. That's this.
I just found out.
I think you were like Harry Potter. You were just kept under like the cupboard.
I was.
No magical abilities, just kept there.
And my great destiny ended up being begging you, rate and review the podcast, Harry.
You know what I always wondered? And watching it again, I also wonder this. Blaine's death. They're patrolling the jungle and he sees an animal. He hears a sound. And he looks down and it's like, I don't even know what kind of animal that is. It looks like a lemming. and the predator's like honing in on him. And then he's like splashed with blood. Was that his own blood?
It always looks weird because it looks like the predator is like aiming a little to his left or something.
Yeah, does it hit something? Does it hit that small animal and that animal explodes on him?
Maybe, yeah, because there is something weird about that shot. There's always been something weird about that.
So I don't know if that was his own blood because he reacts in a way like it gets his attention, but it doesn't seem like he's injured.
Yeah, exactly. Until the next shot,
and then his chest is blown apart, which always freaked me out as a kid. Not in a way that like frightened me. I was just like, "That's insane! This is the goriest movie ever."
Yeah. I always was just so let down though, because I always wanted that gun to be used by him a bit more.
Yeah.
So I was always like, "Oh, come on!"
But it was cool that Mac picked it up and just fucking unleashed.
Mac!
I love when they're just shooting at the jungle.
Yeah, that seems like something our posse would do if we had one.
Oh yeah, I would love to go. I'm pro jungle, not into guns, but I would love to just go down to a jungle with a gun and just shoot the jungle with like 6 other guys.
It reminds me of that scene in Full Metal Jacket with the sniper when they don't know, like the one guy gets hit, but they don't know where it's coming from, so they're just like blowing up the building. The one guy's firing like grenades into it, but they don't know what the hell they're shooting at. It's the same thing. Like Poncho's like firing his grenade launcher.
Not a thing. Not a fucking trace. No blood, no bodies. We hit nothing.
I could see myself being like drafted into war and totally doing that. and just like shooting all my bullets and being like, okay, I probably got them, but knowing deep down I didn't, and like kind of hating myself when I then took a step forward and got shot.
After that, though, actually, was it right after that? Oh yeah, I guess it's after that when they're all together and they're trying to establish what would attack them. And Billy's little line there is so good.
I'm scared, Pancho.
Bullshit. You ain't afraid of no man.
There's something out there waiting for us. And it ain't no man. We're all gonna die.
Although, like, when it's real that they hit it, and Arnold says the famous line,
If it bleeds, we can kill it.
there's a bit of hubris there because they're getting fucking annihilated.
Well, they are. And it's a bit of hubris too, because what if that liquid was actually just like from its fuel pack or something?
Exactly.
It's like from its canteen.
That's quite the assumption. Like, do you know any other animals that has like fucking glow in the dark blood? And they're going to automatically assume, oh, it's its blood.
The folly of man.
It really is. But after that, we get to like the whole where they're going to try to catch a predator with Chris Hansen.
Catch a predator. Yes.
And they set up natural booby traps. The crazy thing about this scene is that the predator is essentially watching him every step of the way. They spent the whole fucking afternoon setting up these booby traps. Would it have been seeing it doing that?
I guess so. I don't know. It does get the predator for like a second when they get it in that like net.
Yeah.
Those like nets made of rope that you have in a tree and like pull up to like catch someone. I really thought those were going to play a huge role in my adult life when I was a little kid. It seemed like those and punji pits were going to come up a lot more than they do.
Wait, are those the ones with the spikes at the bottom?
Yeah, and like covered by like straw.
Yeah. Did you ever try doing that, like dig a hole somewhere and put like sticks and stuff on it and want somebody to fall in and hurt themselves?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
My earliest memory is I was like really into this hole that I was always working on. And I'd always like tell my parents my plans for the hole. My father would be like, there's pipes.
Wait, what plans? That you want to injure someone?
No, like that I was going to make like a clubhouse, like a cover with wood. Imagine just being in a hole covered with wood. Or like fill it up and make a pool. You know, all the dreams kids have.
Oh my God. I always made holes and filled it up with water. I don't know. And I would throw things in there like fucking Star Wars figures. I don't know what I thought would happen.
Oh yeah. And you're just like, I'm like, oh, if I put garbage bag at the bottom of it, it won't become super dirty and gross. So then it's like, oh, damn it. That didn't work.
Man, what a hideous, ugly place.
I like it. It's a statement.
You know what I would love to see? Not love to see, but that minigun. Back to the old Painless for a second. What would a body look like after getting hit with a minigun at close range? Would it just be like chop meat?
Well, in my case, it would be an improvement. Oh, God. I've lost my confidence.
You just had outside that restaurant, you had the minigun set up with like a handheld trigger and just stood in front of it.
I was on my open table reservation, and I was like, if it doesn't go well, can you please trigger this minigun I'll be bringing as I cross the threshold?
At any point, did you tell her something that made her laugh? That's a long pause.
No.
At any point, did you want a KYS?
I did. I felt like I was reading like the section of the Bible where it was like Abraham begat Elliot. Elliot begat, you know, that's how it felt. And she was like funny and told funny stories. I was like, at least she's doing something. Like when she would tell me stories, like the things I was like, you know, the things you say where you're like, oh, really? Oh, huh? Like they could not sound more fake, where I was just like, very interesting what you said.
You know, if I was 25 years younger, I would tell you to try again by telling her that was your twin brother she went out on a date with.
Oh yeah, or writing her a letter, like a mixtape that was like, "I love you, I need you back."
Here's some songs you should listen to that I like. It explains all the things I want to say, but I can't.
However, this Fugazi song is a fuckload of metaphor, so basically just ignore it because I don't even know what it's about. I think it's political.
Nobody understands me, you know that? I fucking bust my ass for you guys, and what do I get? You're spooky. Fuck you, man. Fuck you all.
I like it spooky.
I mean, I got something to say, you know? What do you think this is all about? You think this is a fucking costume? This is a way of life.
So Billy, you mentioned Billy's death. He's on the log. He wants to confront the predator. He wants to face.
Every time I saw this as a kid, I was like, he might actually have a chance, though.
I feel like he's not sport at that point. But is the damage already done? Like you already fucked up by like killing a bunch of people.
No, but the predator also like throws his weapons. Like the predator fights him like blades.
How do you know? Oh, because he's cut up,
bro. Because I was there, man. I don't know. I've always just assumed that's what happened.
You do
in
see
that
his
scene.
corpse, and he's kind of like you said, cut up, but you don't see anything. You just hear a scream.
Well, because also then the predator keeps his skull and he like celebrates it.
Well,
it's clear that he thought Billy was more of a worthy opponent.
So you think they went mano a mano?
I think they had a quick blade battle, but it was, it was over before it started for old Bill.
If you were face to face with the predator, what would your last attempt be? Like, what would you try to do?
Horse stance reverse punch.
I don't even know what that looks like.
That's just like the most basic karate move that they would teach you at like a birthday party for like another kid. Like, we're gonna do the horse stance reverse punch.
I feel like I would be one of those people that like would antagonize someone and then realize they're outmatched and then try to like pass it off as they were joking, but the damage is already done. Like I'd be like, come on, I could put my arms up like, hey man, I was just kidding.
Wait, and you're doing this to a predator?
You got to try. You got to do what you can. I'd try to bribe it. Like I have money. I have an NES collection that's pretty valuable. Are you interested?
I would just be like, I'll join your side. I'll join your side. I have thought that like if I was like in a terrorist situation or something, and they're just like executing everyone, I'd be like, I'll join ISIS. I will join. I'm just trying to survive out there. I'm hanging out by a thread at this point.
That's not your style, Dylan. Guess I picked up some bad habits from you. Now get your people the hell out of here. You can't win this, Dylan. Maybe I can get even.
So everybody's dead except Arnold and Anna. Arnold says the probably the most famous line maybe to get to the chopper.
Yeah.
This movie has a lot of good one-liners or good dialogue. Like not even Arnold. Like Arnold shared a lot of good lines, but he obviously had the best ones. Which line stands out to you as the most memorable?
For some reason, it's just Dylan.
Dylan.
I love that you son of a bitch. After he says Dylan.
Yeah, that is a very strong combo.
Yeah.
I've always found it endearing how Arnold still uses his one-liners like on Twitter and like in videos and stuff like that. But it's always weird when he says like "get to the chopper" like out of context. You're just like, oh, okay. And remember, get to the chopper. This has been Arnold. Like he'll say it. You're just like, okay, but out of context.
People go crazy when he brings that out.
They love it.
I think one of the other actually really famous lines is the "You're one ugly motherfucker." Although you call it "son of a gun" or whatever you said before.
Now I remember it because I always remember the Predator like repeating it like a motherfucker. Wait, no, that's Hans Gruber actually. Yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker.
You watch this movie? What were you watching instead?
I don't know.
But anyway, so everybody's dead now except Arnold. Arnold tells Anna to get to the chopper, and he takes off and winds up sliding down.
Love this.
Yeah.
A little factoid here. I don't know if you read on the trivia that the B camera for this was like a little worse or something went wrong with the film stock. Mm-hmm. So there's some shots that are a little grainier than others. And there's one shot where he's falling down the waterfall that I think must have been one of these B camera shots because it looks just like the stuntmen.
I'm not surprised about that. But did I ever tell you that I love any kind of trivia based around B camera work? So
yeah, well, there you have it.
The other thing though is after he winds up in the water and he pulls himself out and he gets covered with mud, there's a whole thing about the application for the mud that the makeup artist talked about, which was pretty interesting. And
Go on.
they obviously did not use real mud. And besides that is that the real mud would have killed them.
Whoa.
Because in the hot jungle, it would have been like insulation and it would have just cooked.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
So they came up with a concoction of like a clay powder.
I'm a clay oven. I'm a clay oven.
I wish I want to make that a sound clip. Just use that. But it was actually a concoction of a clay powder mixed with water and methacel, which I think a lot of makeup artists use. I think that's like a go-to.
Yeah, I feel like we heard about that during the stuff or something.
Yeah, I think it's a thickening agent. But anyways, the makeup artist filled like a 55-gallon drum with it. That's concoction, and would just like hose them down with it. And it was very quick. So there was not a lot of application process or time spent doing it. But did you know, I'm sure everybody knows this, but the Mythbusters actually proved that being covered with mud would not mask your thermal signature.
Yeah, I would never believe it for a second. I would think it would make you hotter, if anything. But I get the idea. Yeah. But it's also though that it's been like a hot jungle. So I would feel like the mud would be hot. I don't know.
Especially imagine you in that hot jungle with mud covered in mud, farting up a storm. You would have been a dead giveaway.
Also, I've always been so shitty at like applying things like that. So I would only get that mud on like half of my body and like none of my back. And the predator's just like, oh, see you easily.
We finally have its language.
Yes.
Like Mac and me language.
Oh, my universal translator is on.
He couldn't see me.
Let's wrap this bad boy up. The final showdown.
Yeah. So Arnold, after he's now realized that he could be invisible from the predator with the mud, and he sets up like another set of traps. Right?
Yep.
And I just wanted to.
He's the hunter now.
Now he's back on track, and but when the predator comes across the traps, can I get to that part?
You can do whatever you want.
And I love the moment when Arnold is like, "I'm here now, come in, kill me," and the predator is like looking at like the teeth of like the trap. But I feel like the scene goes on for like it cuts back and forth between them like one too many times where it becomes comic, where Arnold's like, "No, come on, for real," and the predator is clearly like looking at the trap like, "Motherfucker, I can see the spike."
Yeah. Well, he has that oh shit face when when the predator starts to go around it.
Oh yeah, yeah. But there's one. Look, people watch it. There's one extra cut.
He leads him into another trap though. Didn't he know that other trap was there?
What's the next trap?
The log that falls on him and pretty much severs his spine.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And that's when he sets off the self-destructive device.
It made me sad to see that log land on him like that because I remember that happened to our friend Larry at your bachelor party at the adventure park.
Stick around.
So when the predator self-destructs, is part of his that device, is it to erase all traces of him, do you think? Because A, they probably don't want to get caught, but B, they don't want any traces because then
then someone can, they've seen Terminator, they know.
Do you think, how like if you have to go to another country, especially like a third world country, you need a shit ton of shots. Do you think the predator needs shots to come to the Earth?
Oh, I bet. That's probably. It's like Predator is actually a way more tragic story because like a million people died like in that country of like the viruses that he brought with him.
Oh, I know. Was that like a nuclear blast?
Yeah, I think it's like a very local nuke, like tactical nukes that exist today.
Now the helicopter that's carrying Anna out of there and it kind of rocks the helicopter. Why would it fly towards the explosion?
It's counterintuitive, but that's what we do.
And how the fuck would you find a person among all the rubble and ashes? He didn't send up any flares or SOS signals or anything. He was just sitting there.
You're the one who criticized True Lies. You don't want a whole other scene where he's like, "No, I've got to get out of here."
That's true. I'm just pointing out. I mean, I love this movie. I find no flaws, but I'm just adding, trying to break down some things.
My only question is just, did the Predator really find it that funny? that he was blowing himself up?
I think
or was he doing that to fuck with Arnold?
I think he was doing it to fuck with Arnold. Does it understand laughter? Does it understand the connotation?
Yeah, like I don't know if it was just ripping the laughter off Billy or if it or what. Predator. Well, that is Predator, and we will be back very soon. And
are you going to reveal what we're doing in 2 weeks or no?
We're going to do something completely different.
Oh, and now for something completely different.
It's a whole genre we've never tackled before, and I don't even know how you're going to react. You're going to flip out probably.
Yeah, I can't handle change.
You can't handle change.
Oh, anything else you want to say?
Just that we will have that new name probably soon. So Viewmasters, if you subscribe to the podcast, which I assume you do, it'll just appear as a different name, but don't be alarmed. It's us.
And rate and review.
And rate and review. We know you won't.
Much like your self-esteem, we know it's gone.
It's you know what that date was? That date was my "if it bleeds, we can kill it" moment. I left that date with glowing green blood on the plants in that restaurant, and the hostess was like, "I think that was that man who wrote that weird note on the open table reservation." Oh, so the day didn't go good, you think? Oh, you saw them. It's horrible.
The other day, I went up to my girlfriend. I said, I'd like a little pussy. She said, me too. Mine's as big as a house. You see, she wanted a littler one because hers was as big as a house. You give up position one more time, I'll bleed you real quiet. Leave you here. Got that?